Welcome back to the Dylan Shea channel. Today is a World Cup roundup of the games we have seen so far. At the time of recording, Group G and Group H haven't played. So here's some predictions on how I think those are going to go. You will know the score. Me editing this will know the scores of those games. So I could either look like a genius or an idiot, basically. Brazil versus Serbia. Now I'm going to go with a very narrow Brazil win. I think Serbia are a very good team, very underrated. I'm going to go with a 2-1 win for Brazil. I think next is Switzerland versus Cameroon. So I got Switzerland to beat Cameroon 2-0. I think Switzerland are a good team, Cameroon a bit weak. I've got Uruguay and South Korea. Uruguay to draw to South Korea 2-2. I think Son will get on the score sheet. I think Uruguay will be the better team, but South Korea getting 2 goals. And I have Portugal to beat Ghana, a good Ghana team, by the way. Very good Ghana team, underrated, lacking goals, I think, though, so I'm going to go for a 2-1 Portugal win. We'll go with a Ronaldo penalty in there as well. Anyway, let's get into the roundup. Group A. Now, this kicked off with Qatar versus Ecuador, and what we saw was that Ecuador actually stepped up, because they were the first team to beat the hosts for the first time in the 72 year, I think. No, it's not 72, is it? Is it? 82? 92? Something. I think it's 92. History of the World Cup. Ecuador the first team to beat the hosts on the opening day. Qatar losing in what was a poor game from Qatar. It could have been 3-0, could have been 4-0. The offside was very close. At the time, I thought it was a terrible decision, like most people, but it was actually the correct decision in the end. Enner Valencia, someone who I said in my predictions I thought would do very well this World Cup, will do good. And of course they have Enner Valencia as well from the Super League, who has 13 goals in 12 games. So he's one to look out for too. Anyway, and he proved it in this game. Could have had a hat-trick, like I've said. He scored 2 goals, and the second one was a great goal as well. It's actually a world-class header. So very impressive. But Qatar were very poor, probably the worst home nation of all time in the World Cup. They had 0 shots on target and 18 clearances. This suggests that, well, they were under the cosh a lot. I predicted Qatar to finish 4th in this group. I predicted Ecuador to finish 2nd. Senegal versus Ecuador will be huge. And speaking of Senegal lost to Netherlands 2-0. The first half was a massive contrast to the second half, because the first half I thought they looked quite threatening. I thought Diatta and Ismaila Sarr, in particular Ismaila Sarr, was very threatening. I thought on the counter they looked good, on the ball they looked quite good, and Ismaila Sarr was quite brave in his play, often cutting in and managing to get a shot off. There was one where Van Dijk just headed it away that was going in from a shot from Ismaila Sarr. Don't really know what happened in the second half, to be honest. Senegal just became very unthreatening, and sort of like the Senegal that I had watched in previous games against Egypt a couple of times. I thought they looked poor despite winning them. I think they're in trouble. I think Ecuador will have the edge over them. I think no Mane is huge. I think if Mane was there, maybe they win that game with the chances in the first half. But yeah, to me they don't look consistent or threatening, or the play just doesn't look good enough in my opinion. Still, wasn't great from the Netherlands as well, actually. Senegal actually did have a higher XG. They had a 0.89 to Netherlands 0.67. And Netherlands going forward started Bergwijn and Janssen. Now, these two weren't good enough to really start for Spurs. Bergwijn, I think, is a really talented player. I think we've seen the Leicester game for Spurs last year. He delivered. There was often other games. He was quite good, actually, for Spurs last season. And I think at times you can see his talent, but it's just not consistent enough for me. And Depay came on and you sort of was like, is he going to make a threat? Is he really going to do anything? But yeah, the one player I want to talk about in particular for Netherlands is actually Frankie de Jong, because every time I watch this guy play football, it's a joy to watch, because he's just one of them midfielders who can just run 40 yards with the ball. It's so powerful. I think he can really be a superstar of a midfielder. I think a Klopp would just love him at Liverpool. I think that would be great. Even before the assist, he was making a big impact. I thought he was the best player on the pitch. And the assist, it's just the icing on the cake. It was just wonderful. I mean, the curl and the header, to be fair, from Gakpo was good as well. Got to be said, the second goal, Edouard Mendy. What has happened? You know, the arc of Edouard Mendy is an interesting one because sort of came to football late and then won goalkeeper of the year, deservedly so, won the Champions League with Chelsea, was a huge part of that success and won the actual treble in Europe. And since then has just become a bit of a liability, hasn't he? I mean, for Senegal yesterday, I thought he looked awkward at times. And I think when you're a senior player, especially in a nation side, international football is huge. If you're a senior player or known as one of the big players, you have to look confident and assured, because I think it just gives the rest of the team a lot of confidence. And the second goal is so bad, it's horrendous. He could have caught it. I don't think he had to punch it like that. Even if he didn't catch it, he didn't have to do that. Straight to Davy Klaassen, and he makes it 2-0. If you want to know where I put everyone in the group stage and who I think won the World Cup, and you want to see my predictions, it's either this side or this side. I think it's this side. The little eye in the corner. Subscribe as well if you are new for more videos. Like if you enjoyed the video so far as well. Let's go into Group B and let's start with England versus Iran. Well, just England. Let's start with them because they was probably, bar Spain, I would actually say above Spain, the best team in the first round, because Costa Rica are not better than Iran, in my opinion. I thought England, just the tempo from minute one was very good, and it was intense, a lot of pressure, the passing was quick, it was accurate, and they just had a pace on Iran that Iran just couldn't deal with. They held on for about 35 minutes, but I mean, that is about it. And yeah, England should be very happy because we've seen, you know, as I'll talk about, we've seen Argentina lose to Saudi Arabia. We've seen France go 1-0 down to Australia, Germany, what happened versus Japan. So I don't think you should take any win for granted if you're an England fan. Don't think you should just be winning these games. Your team actually has to go out there and perform, and that's exactly what the England players did. We have to talk about one man in particular though, don't we? Jude Bellingham. The guy is a star. He is 19 years old. He is the same age as me, and I'm in my room making videos, and he's in a World Cup final. There's levels to this game. Jude Bellingham has 9 goals in all competitions this season. He has 4 in the Champions League. I think it's 3 or 4 in the Bundesliga. And then obviously 1 in the World Cup. Just a ridiculous player from midfield as well. And that's his first ever game in a World Cup, and he was the best player on the pitch by a mile as well. Just ran it, connected the defence to the attack so well, and obviously scored that beautiful header, looping over the keeper. Please, Jude, do not go to Manchester City. We can't see this. We cannot keep seeing the best players go to Man City. Haaland, Bellingham, please don't do it. They'll have Foden as well. I mean, they're set up for the next 10 years if they get Bellingham. I think there's a massive case for Bellingham and Declan Rice, who was superb actually as well, but went under the radar a little bit because of Bellingham. But those two are the best 2 pairing in midfield in the entire World Cup. I think so. We have to give a quick shout out to my sponsor. No, I'm joking. Obviously not. Sponsor. I have 80 subscribers. 2 players in particular for England: Bukayo Saka and Harry Maguire. Saka was absolutely terrifying this game, a fullback's nightmare. He has 10 goal contributions, in 15 games this season. However, to me, I don't think he's actually played that well in an Arsenal shirt. It sounds weird, but I think performance-wise, he's actually not been as good as last year. This game, he was ridiculous. This is his best performance of the season. This is everything you want from Saka. Direct, pace, 2 goals, and they were both unbelievable goals. The second one is just outrageous. And there was one angle where they just showed it from it behind, and he's just turning players inside out. Yeah, ridiculous. So we have to look at Harry Maguire as well, because he, well, impressed everyone. I'm pretty sure I didn't have him in my England squad, because I do think still you have to deserve it to be in there. But if you are going to be in there, perform, and that's exactly what he did. He completed 10 of his 14 long balls, nearly scored 2 goals, was a massive threat in the opposition's box from corners, won 2 out of his 2 ground duels as well. He just looked really composed and confident, which is something we haven't seen from Harry Maguire in a long time. Iran held on for 35 minutes. Overall, I think we can say though that they were quite bad. They didn't really offer anything going forward, and when they did, to be fair, I think his name's Taremi. Wow. I mean, he was clinical. The finish is very good, and he scored 2 goals. He can sleep happy, he can die happy, really. And yeah, impressive performance from him. I think he has quite a lot of goals for Iran as well. Do I think it was a pen? Yes, I do, but I also think England's one was like 3 times more to be a pen, likely to be a pen. Quick shout out as well to Callum Wilson for the sweaty for Jack Grealish. I thought that was a good moment. You could see in Jack Grealish, he sort of looked at him and he was like very thankful that he did that. So it was a nice move from Callum Wilson. And of course, the celebration from Jack Grealish for Finley was also a very nice touch. Let's move on to Wales versus America. Now, this was, as a Welshman, I guess. Are you a fan of your national team, or do you just say I'm Welsh? I'm Welsh. So the first half, a very tough watch because it was defensive from Wales, not much happening. It was very part of the bus football. It was like our manager was Mourinho, and this has happened like quite a lot under Rob Page lately. To be fair, we have played quite tough opposition. But America, on paper, I looked at it and I thought maybe they have the better team overall, like just about. But I think we have great individuals that we shouldn't be scared of America, and we did show them a lot of respect in the first half. They were very good though, to be fair. I mean, they just completely dominated us physically, and you could see the difference. And second half came, and you know what? I thought we did well to just change everything in the second half. To me, defensive football just doesn't work. I think in 2022, I think it maybe worked a few years ago when patterns of play wasn't as mastered as they are now. But yeah, to me, it just doesn't work. We didn't look good in the first half. We were 1-0 down. And the second half came. Kiefer Moore came on. For me, I couldn't believe he didn't start. The Bale up front just doesn't work. It maybe worked in 2016, but he's not 27 or how old he was then anymore. Kiefer Moore came on and he completely changed the game. We had an option to go up front. It's not just about crosses, it's about someone to hold on to the ball. There was a moment as well, the back heel, lovely to, it might have been Ramsey or Bale, not sure. He was just fantastic, even more. I thought he maybe man of the match, actually, with his impact on the game. But I thought it was, terrific performance from him. There were some really poor performances from Wales. Joe Rodon, Chris Mepham and Ethan Ampadu in particular. Ethan Ampadu with very poor decision making on the day. Joe Rodon, even his brother said that he looked on spice in the first half. And Chris Mepham, who I just think isn't, this level, really. But thanks to Ben Davies, who was easily our best player, maybe apart from Kiefer Moore. But Ben Davies, ridiculous performance, kept us in the game. I think if we didn't have Ben Davies, then we would definitely have lost. Let's talk about America, the US of A, a little bit. And I have to give a shout out to the midfield, in particular, Tyler Adams, I thought was amazing. Just ran his ass off in the first half, completed a lot of tackles, a lot of interceptions as well. A very good performance from him. I thought it was really impressive. It's my first time actually properly watching him. I haven't really seen much of Leeds this season. I was very impressed. There was also another midfielder that impressed me. McKennie was good, but Yunus Musa was very good. And he's 19 years old. And I think he showed a lot of potential in this game because not only was he just carrying the ball, he was beating players, getting America further up the pitch, especially in the first half. He had a massive effect. And most of America was in the first half. I think in the second half, not much happened for them. But we have to talk about Timothy Weah. Now, George Weah, I'm sure he was very proud of his son because I tell you what, he nearly made assist of the tournament. A ball comes over, he knees it, and the ball didn't even touch the floor. He knees it onto his right foot and makes a lovely cross, and Joe Rodon nearly scores an own goal. Got the goal as well. It was a beautiful run. Done Nico Williams on the inside instead of going on the outside, and the finish was good as well. I also thought Anthony Robinson on SofaScore, they gave him quite a low rating. I thought he was quite good. I thought he was one of America's best players, actually. Someone I rate. Every time I watch him, he impresses me. Let's talk about Bale. Now, he didn't play very well, but he scored the penalty. And of course, it was Gareth Bale. It's always Gareth Bale for Wales. Scored his 41st goal for Wales as well. He's already Wales' top goal scorer by a lot, but to make it 41 is very impressive. Now, I have a question for you. Considering Gareth Bale got the goal to get us into the World Cup and then scored in our first game in the World Cup, is Gareth Bale the greatest British player of all time. I think it's very close. I'd have it between him and Rooney. I can't really decide which one's better. But yeah, let me know who you think is the greatest British player of all time. Group C. Now, this was the best moment easily of the tournament so far. Saudi Arabia beating Argentina, and not just the best moment, the best goal as well, because Al Dasari, do you know what he did? It was like a Transformers moment, I would say. So what he did was sort of look at Messi. He was on the same pitch as him. And you know in that scene in Transformers where Bumblebee just looks at a car and turns into that car? That's what he did. He looked at Messi, goes, I want to be Messi. And then he just turns into Messi, dribbles past like 3 or 4 players, and then just sticks it in the top corner. I hope you enjoyed my Transformers analogy right there. I would be incredibly surprised if there was a better performance this entire World Cup. Because when you think of who they are, Saudi Arabia, which is not that good of a team, well, not that we thought anyway, against Argentina, who are unbeaten in 35 games, who have the greatest player of all time, you could argue still the best player in the world. They haven't lost in 3 years, and when you consider how they played, the tactical game that they played with a high line, and caught Argentina offside 3 times. Well, they had 3 goals ruled out. They actually caught them a lot more than 3 times. But Argentina had 3 goals offside. I mean, Saudi Arabia really took the piss out of them, to be honest. Saudi Arabia destroyed Argentina. Tactical game plan was perfect. The high line, excellent. And the pressing as well. Argentina just didn't know what to do. Now, Argentina in the first half did actually have a few chances. Like I said, they had 3 goals offside. And if they carried on playing like that, I probably would have seen them winning. And I don't want to take Saudi Arabia's performance away by saying Argentina were bad. But Argentina just stopped playing in the second half, didn't they? Now, Saudi Arabia, to be fair, caused this. They were pressing at the high line. I think Argentina were just very disheartened by the Saudi Arabia high line, and you have to give them massive credit for that. But they just stopped making runs in behind. It was very weird. Like, they just started passing it around and nothing really happened. And Argentina really came into this with an ego, didn't they? They just thought they'd turn up, win. They did a few passes around, had a bit of possession, thought that would be enough. Well, this is football in 2022. Possession alone doesn't win you games. Whoever's the most threatening usually wins. Well, always wins. Now, I don't like to criticise Messi because I think it feels weird. Because, I mean, I'm a squad player for my Sunday League local team. So for me to criticise the GOAT is odd. But he walks a lot, doesn't he? Just sort of walked for the whole 90 minutes. I was just watching thinking, why are you walking? You know, you should probably be on the ball a bit more. You're the best player in the world, arguably. Surely the more you're on the ball, the better. I do think you should be on the right-hand side, though, instead of Di Maria, who was terrible, by the way. Like seriously awful. I think Messi should be on the right. I'd have either Dybala or McAllister in the middle then. Not play a 4-4-2 with Messi and Lautaro Martinez up front. Don't think that worked at all. But let's go on to Poland versus Mexico. Now, I'm not speaking about this for long. Ultimately, Mexico, Ochoa loves the World Cup, doesn't he? I mean, he just comes around every 4 years. I was 11 years old when he turned up in the 2014 World Cup. I'm now 19. I've seen him twice since I was 11, and they're both World Cups. And he delivers every single time. He is a World Cup icon. There's no doubt about it. It was a great save. And then we have to talk about Lewandowski, because Lewandowski just doesn't turn up, does he, for Poland? You know, you look at players, I don't know, Mbappe, Bale, Ronaldo for Portugal. Lewandowski just doesn't turn up for his international side, and he hasn't done it. And I think that's going to hold him back in his legacy a little bit, I do. Anyway, terrible game, like really bad. And I'm moving on from this very quickly. 3 groups left. Now we have Group D. We have France versus Australia. Now, did you know that Mbappe is good at football? The guy is ridiculous. Every time he's on the ball, you think something could happen. He just, again, was one of the best players on the pitch. And that was like a 7 out of 10 from Mbappe. Or maybe an 8. Because the header was gorgeous. It really was. And the ball from Ousmane Dembele, by the way, is actually so good. We have to talk about Giroud as well, because he equals Thierry Henry for 51 goals for France, which I could not believe, by the way, when I seen that. Respect to him. I still, in my brain, can't tell how good Giroud is, because you have like you have like world class, very good, good, okay, bad, very bad. I don't know which one he's in. He's in one of these tiers. I don't know which one. Griezmann. Now, Griezmann was very good in this game. Kept dropping deep, played a lot of good balls in behind, just kept the ball really well, played some key passes, just looked really tidy on the ball, was taking players on, looked a lot like the old Griezmann. And I was thinking about Griezmann, and it's such a shame what happened, because when he was, before 2018 or 2019, you know, he won the Europa with Atletico Madrid, and he was insane in those games. I think he won a league title with them as well. He won the Euros. No, he didn't. He lost the final of the Euros. But he did have the golden boot for the Euros, and he was so good in that tournament. He won the World Cup, and I think he could have been recognised as one of the greats. I really do. Well, I think he could have been rated as a great striker. But, you know, what's happened lately, that's not going to happen. Australia did have a moment. Good win. Unfortunately, it wasn't a good win for Australia. It was a good moment though, and yeah, I thought for a second we could be in here for the biggest shock of the tournament. And no, to be fair to France, very easy to lose your head, but they did come back and win the game comfortably. Upamecano, by the way, was great. Denmark versus Tunisia. Now this game caught me off guard a little bit, because I was just expecting Denmark 3, Tunisia 0, but Tunisia were actually quite impressive. Issa Laidouni, I think is how you say his name. Wow, what a performance. He was absolutely everywhere in this game. He had 2 interceptions, 2 tackles. He had 3 clearances, 5 out of his 6 ground duels won. It was a monstrous performance from him, nearly scored as well. I was just not expecting Tunisia, and not just him, the rest of the Tunisian players were fantastic, but he stood out a lot. He was great. He was man of the match by far. And to put that performance in as well against, this isn't just a okay Denmark team, this is one of the most informed international teams on the planet, probably around top 3. Denmark did have periods where they played really good football. I was disappointed with Denmark overall, especially Højbjerg and Eriksson. I think they could have been a lot more ambitious in their play. Bit too defensive at times, or not forward thinking enough, didn't have the ambition to play that final pass. But at some points Denmark really did play some very good football. I have to say, Skovolsen, I was really not impressed with him. Just looked really weird, just looked odd on the ball. I've only seen one game, to be fair, so he might be better than the next one, but he just looked so awkward. Like, his body type for a winger didn't really look like a winger. Is he a winger? Like, he had more of a striker's sort of, like, you know, stature and his play style, not really a winger. They did have some good chances at Denmark. I mean, Cornelius has to score. When John Arson was saying he had to score live, I was thinking, sounds harsh, but I watched the highlights again. I mean, he's just caught in 2 minds. You just have to dive at the ball at that point. You know, you're in a World Cup, mate. You have to do better. Can I just say, Denmark, how they didn't get a penalty at the end, there's been some awful refereeing in this game. But Denmark, they easily should have had a penalty. He hits his thigh and then hits his arm in the box. He's controlled it with his arm. Now you could say, okay, he didn't mean to do it. Well, no, but have a better touch. Because if your touch is better, it won't hit your arm. And you know, you just can't touch the ball with your arm in the box. It has to be a penalty, in my opinion. Going on to Group E. Now this one was there were some big games, some big results in this group. And we have to start with Japan beating Germany. And yeah, Japan always looked a threat. Anytime Japan had the ball, they looked more of a threat than Germany did. They just seemed really quick to pounce on Germany and attack straight away. I can't think of the striker's name. It's on the tip of my tongue. It begins with an M. It's like Maeda or something. He looked rapid, by the way. The whole Japan team just looked really quick. Has to be said, Schlotterbeck, wow, he was poor. Very poor. The second goal, sorry. What on earth was he doing? It was great play by Asano, but the touch by Asano is ridiculous. But Schlotterbeck has to do better. He's just sort of watching him touch it down and then jogs back. The finish by Asano is a joke, by the way. I mean, to do that against Manuel Neuer as well, fair play to him. And yeah, he made a massive impact, Asano. him and Doan, but Asano especially was everywhere in the goal, of course, like I just mentioned. But yeah, Schlotterbeck I thought struggled a lot, not just in that goal, in that moment, the whole game I thought he looked off it. But I have to give a bit of a shout out to Musiala because that kid is so talented. And I like players in tight spaces who can, you know, work their way around that, and he did that so many times. In tight areas is actually where he looked his best. Managed to, with his dribbling, take players out of the game. He could ball carry very well. Just did really well overall, Musiala. I thought he was Germany's most threatening player. I was disappointed in Gnabry in this game because, you know, since the 2020 season, he's not really hit the heights that he probably should have. The 2020 season, as a Spurs fan, when I seen him score 4 goals against us, yeah, I was thinking this is one of the best wingers in the world, or he will be in 2 or 3 years. Hasn't quite gone down that way. He just looked really unthreatening. Didn't really see him in this game, and he's just a bit inconsistent, I think. But Rudiger, on a positive note, Rudiger is one of them where I think you see his FIFA rating, and it's like 85, I'm guessing, on FIFA 23, and you think, okay, and you sort of give like a limit to how good they are because of their rating. This is just for FIFA players, by the way. And I think, you know, I think we've all been guilty of that by doing that in the past. But Rudiger is like a top 3 centre-back, 5 centre-back in the world. He is genuinely like so good. Pace, power, but technically brilliant as well. Just a really good defender. The first goal as well actually was brilliant, and it came from Mitoma. Now you might know him from Brighton, and every time we've seen a cameo of Mitoma, he's looked really good. On the ball, he's fantastic. He is really one player he is the definition of one to watch, in my opinion. Now, Spain versus Costa Rica. My mum at her works had to choose a team from a hat for the World Cup, and she got Costa Rica, and she said, you know, Dylan, are these any good? I said, well, they have a good keeper. Imagine if they didn't have a good keeper. I mean, it could have been 10. It could have been 11. Although I didn't actually watch the last 25 minutes. Gavi, the goal. I mean, Jesus Christ, Gavi. I mean, the goal. What is that? Technique is on point. It's arguably the goal of the tournament if it wasn't for the Saudi Arabian player. Yeah, Gavi looks special. It really does. I'm not talking about Costa Rica. You know, what do you want me to say? They're bad? Yeah, they're bad. In all, Spain looked good. I think some people were overreacting on Twitter, saying they are now like one of the favourites, tough to beat. They were playing Costa Rica. I didn't think they were amazing. I just thought they were good. I think against France, England, Brazil, Argentina, I think they will struggle. In the last group, Group F, we have Croatia versus Morocco. Now, frustrating game to watch. The first half was good, second half was terrible. I want to talk about Ziyech, because Ziyech pretty much sums it up in this game. He annoys me, by the way, Ziyech, because on the ball, first half, brilliant, was finding passes that only a really good footballer could find. He was picking up the ball, beating players, playing really well. Second half, where was he? Where was Ziyech in the second half? Now you are Morocco's best player, arguably. You're their main man. And you just disappear. You can't be doing stuff like that. I mean, you just didn't appear for the ball. You just sort of stood on the right-hand side and did nothing. When hiding, which he's done a lot of times in the past few years for Chelsea. And the annoying thing is, we know the talent that he has. Ajax, like sensational. We've even seen it at moments at Chelsea. The goal against Spurs, ridiculous. He's had other good games as well. But he's just so inconsistent. This is sort of the same as Boufal. Like, I saw Boufal, who looked about 45, by the way. And you look at him, and he scores a goal in the Premier League a few years ago against West Brom, where he just runs past 7 players and then just slots it in the bottom corner. And you're like, how can you do that? And then you do nothing, like, for another 5 games. It just doesn't make sense. These players are very frustrating. What I will say is Amrabat for Morocco was just unreal. Now, I thought this was the Watford Amrabat, who used to play at striker, was playing at CDM, but no, it's Sofian Amrabat from Floren, Plays for Fiorentina. That is a tricky thing to say. He was insane. Easily my man of the match, and an amazing central defensive midfielder performance. Thought he outshined Modric, which, well, not a lot of players have done in the past. So, well done to him. Disappointed in En-Nesyri. Now, I said a bit harsh on Morocco. I actually thought Morocco were more impressive than Croatia in this game, but there were still some players I was disappointed with. En-Nesyri could have scored, but he sort of ducked out of the header. But yeah, he had a decent chance and didn't take it. He was quite quiet for the whole game, to be honest. For someone who has such a good goal record in the Liga. The front three for Croatia did not look good. Now, I predicted them to get out of the group, but with that front three, I mean, my God. We're talking Perisic, we're talking Kramaric, and we're talking who's the other one? Begins with a P, Pasalic, is it? No, Vlasic, sorry. Kramaric, Vlasic. And yeah, they didn't look good. I've said, you know, at Spurs, Perisic, apart from set pieces, has not looked good this season. Didn't look good in this game. Kramaric was nowhere. Vlasic was bad. And I just thought Croatia offered nothing going forward. I mean, this game had a combined XG of 0.89. That's how dull this game was. Although there is a positive both sides. The defence. The Morocco manager, Walid Regragui. Yeah, they still haven't conceded a goal under him so far, Morocco, in 4 games, which is good. The defence looked solid as well against, to be fair, a bad Croatia team, attacking-wise. And Croatia also looked really solid on the day too. Lovren and Gvardiol. Gvardiol was really impressed with Gvardiol. And Lovren was actually probably the best defender on the pitch, one of the best players on the pitch. Thought he played very well. To wrap up, let's talk about Belgium versus Canada. I've been recording this, by the way, for so long. Belgium versus Canada, I didn't watch this game, but from the highlights, apparently Belgium weren't very good. That's not a surprise to me. I think the golden era is very much over. Canada are a fresh young team. So I think for Belgium to win that game is still quite impressive, to be fair. Batshuayi as well with a great goal. Great finish. De Bruyne looked like he put some very good passes, which is a very usual Kevin De Bruyne thing to do. Very trademark Alderweireld ball. Or how do I miss seeing an Alderweireld long ball to Dele Alli? Goal. Just me, or should Canada have had another penalty? Like, to me, I don't understand how you can do this and the ball come off your arm, and you can. I mean, Tielemans was pretty much playing beach ball. I don't understand how you can do this and that's not a penalty. But I think this is one of the most intriguing groups, probably the most intriguing actually, because Morocco, Canada and Croatia, and you could even argue Belgium could be dragged into a relegation sort of thing. But yeah, I think next, I think it's Croatia versus Canada next. That feels big, really big. I am looking forward to match day 2 of the World Cup. If you have enjoyed this roundup of the World Cup, give it a like, it really helps, you know, the YouTube algorithm, you know, suggests my video more often. I get more views, which leads to more subscribers potentially. Subscribe if you are new as well, and thank you for watching.